Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Chris aka the IT guy, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make the ngx-bootstrap. And suppose when you have a long form and you don't want to have like a long form on your browser and you don't want your users to be annoyed by that, and you want to break down into the steps that can be followed accordingly, and it can facilitate now the user experience, and it can facilitate them to input data without missing any field. And that's where now the ngx-bootstrap comes into play. And as we are taking a look on here, you can see that I'm having this as number of steps. I'm having this for information, I have this for contact, I have this for security, and finish. You can see that this is now a number of steps. I can go ahead and click on next step and next step again and submit, and I can also go back whenever it is required, like this one, to the previous. And I remember back in days when I was trying to do this as my client asked me to do it, it was kind of intimidating until I took time and take a look on how it's done. And we achieved this by using what we call the cdkStepper, and it is provided into this website. You can go to the material.angular.io and you can see where to use now this cdkStepper. It will give you a bunch of steps to get it up and running, but don't worry, I'm going to go through all of that step by step. And as you are seeing, I'm using the bootstrap classes to set all of these, to set the active class. I'm using the font awesome to get all this kind of allow, and also this kind of package. And those are the packages that we will be needing to install before we proceed to end doing of this. So enough of talking, let's go ahead and try to make a new project. And I'm going to create a new Angular project, and inside my folder here I'm going to open the command prompt and make sure you have the Angular CRI installed. I'm going to use ng-new. I'm going to call this as stepper, like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and it will try to create a new Angular project. And if it asks me if I need to add the routing, I'm going to go ahead and press yes, because we will need routing into our project. So I'm going to go ahead and press yes, and it is now asking me the kind of style sheet that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using CSS from Bootstrap. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and I'm going to wait until now this project is created. And until then, I'm going to close this here. I'm going to close this project that I was showing you as demonstration, and you restart fresh. So I'm going to close it and wait for this until it's now done. And once now the project is created, I'm going to go ahead and create the screen and try to open. I'm going to navigate to where now there is this project, and I'm going to try to open the VS Code in here. I'm going to do like this one, and it will open the VS Code and our project. And to make sure that our project is running as expected, I'm going to go ahead and try to run the Angular server to see if now the starter project is working as expected. And if it asks you if you trust the authors, I'm going to say that I trust the authors, like this one. I'm going to open the terminal, and inside the terminal I'm going to start now the Angular server, and we do that by writing the ng serve, like this one. And in this case it will try to build up the project, and after building the project it will try now to open it, and it will be on the specific port that we will be seeing after now the server is started. So let's give it a go. And once now this is done building, I'm going to copy this, because that's where now the website will be available. If you know Angular, you know that this port will be the one, and when you go ahead and press enter, it will bring this one. It was bringing that because it was the one from previous demo, and in this case it will bring this starter project and nothing fancy here. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these because we don't need it. We need to add our own components. So I'm going to go back in here and delete everything, and make sure you have now a clean workspace like this one. Cool. And the way we are going to do make the stepper component, we need to add the required packages, and we do that by adding another terminal, and we are going to add the required packages and add the path to them whenever needed. So I'm going to start by installing the Bootstrap, and I'm going to use the npm install, and I'm going to bootstrap like this one, and I'm going to choose now the version 5 because that's what now available at the time of recording this video, and I'm going to press enter in this case to try now to add the bootstrap package. So let's give it a go and wait. Okay, cool. Once the bootstrap is now successfully installed, I'm going to add now another package for the JavaScript of bootstrap. Sometimes you can need the JavaScript to perform the dynamic behaviors on your stepper component, and you will need the JavaScript to perform that. You can use the JavaScript from bootstrap by using the CDN, but I like to use another library called ngx-bootstrap like this one, and you can go ahead and install it, and it can give you the functionalities that you can get from bootstrap JavaScript, and it can be done without importing any other thing. So the way I'm going to install it, I'm going to use npm install ngx-bootstrap like this one, and press enter, and this will try to give us some JavaScript that we'll be needing into the bootstrap. And once this is done, I'm going to clear the screen, of course, and the other package that we need to install is for the font awesome, and I'm going to use npm, and I'm going to install, and I'm going to say font awesome like this one. Press enter and wait. Wonderful. Once this is done, the next thing that we need to do is now to add the CDK component, or the cdkStepper component. The way we do that, I'm going to use ng-add, and I'm going to say angular like this one, and I'm going to do like cdk and press enter. And when you press enter, it will ask you if you want to continue. Let's wait for that, and I'm going to press Y for yes. And that is now complete as expected. And the next thing that we need to do is now to allocate the path to where we installed our bootstrap and our font awesome, and we do that into the angular.json. So I'm going to scroll down where it's written styles, and I'm going to add the comma, and I'm going to allocate to where bootstrap is installed. It is in node modules and bootstrap. And inside the bootstrap, we need to go to the distribution or the dist, and I'm going to choose the css and the bootstrap.min.css. okay, and we also need to add the other for font awesome. And the way we do that, I'm going to go back to the node modules again, and I'm going to go to the font awesome, and inside the font awesome, I'm going to choose css and font awesome .min.css. and pay attention whenever you are writing this. It is possible that you can write typos, and typos can bring you into trouble. And after we do that, we need to check to see if now this is working as expected. So I'm going to add like testing components are here. I'm going to add a button and try to add some bootstrap classes like a btn primary like this one, primary, and press enter. Hello there. And I'm going to add also now for the font awesome, and I'm going to give it a class of font awesome, and for font awesome user. Okay, so I'm going to restart the server so as to be able to apply these changes. Whenever you add the classes or the other classes, you need to give this a kick and refresh it so as to be able to apply the classes. So let's give it a go and wait. Okay, good. So whenever we come back to the browser, you can see that I'm getting this button and this icon, which indicates that our packages are now well installed. So I'm going to remove this because we don't need any of that. We are using that for the demonstration or the testing purposes only. The next thing that we need to do is now to import the stepper component inside the app module. So I'm going to go here into the app.module.ts, and the way we do that, back when you go to this website where we were having this, when you go to the API, you would be having this import. So I'm going to copy this down, and I'm going to paste it here. And after we do that, I'm going to go to where it's written imports. I'm going to add the comma, and I'm going to add the cdkStepper module. Like this one, I'm going to import this module, and also I'm going to export it so as to be able to be used outside of this. And I'm going to add like this one, and cdk stepper module like this one. Okay, good. And add the comma so as to be able to remove the errors. Okay, after we do that, we're going to create now the stepper component, because now it will be the component itself. And I'm going to go back to my terminal, and the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to use ngx, and I'm going to call this as stepper. And I'm going to skip the test so as to avoid testing, creating the test file. And I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and it will create now this stepper. And after it's now done, it was able to update this app.module.ts, which now indicate that we are safe. And I'm going to create the screen, and I'm going to go back to the app.component.html, and I'm going to try to bring the app stepper in here and go back and see. You can see now the stepper works, and this indicates that now the stepper is being recognized and is ready now to go. After doing this, we are going to go into the stepper in here, and I'm going to go into the stepper components. And the thing that we're going to do here, I'm going to try and extend now the cdkStepper component. And the way we do that, I'm going to say that I'm going to extend, and I'm going to add cdkStepper like this one. And when to complain like this one, can go ahead and click here, and to have to input this itself. And whenever we extend this one, it means that we are extending this class, and we get all the functionalities that is in there. So whenever you go to this class where it's now defined, you can see that there will be a lot of things that are in here, like the selected index, like any other stuffs that are required to the stepper. So we will be needing the stepper next, the stepper previous, the label, the linear mode, and all other kind of stuff. So that's where now we will be accessing them. And as we will be using now this stepper component, as now we try to input some of the information, I'm going to add the input, and this input it will be like for the linear mode selected, and I'm going to give as true as the initial value. And when to complain, I'm going to import now this module. So when you go ahead and hover on linear mode selected, you can see that now it is provided by now this stepper component. And as we are extending this cdkStepper, it will have to give you access to this one. Okay, we will modify these upon we are going to input anything into the stepper component. We see that in a bit. And after we do that, I'm going to now add another method that will help us whenever we click the buttons on the stepper or on the form where we'll be seeing all the buttons to click. And I'm going to call this on click like this one. And the parameter that will be input in here will be now the index. So the index, and it will be now a number. And after we do that, inside here, what we do after we click on here, it will set this dot selected index, and we will have to give it as the index that we'll be getting upon click. And I told you that this selected index is coming from cdkStepper, as we are now extending this class. Okay, good, fine. After we do that, I'm going now to go to the stepper.component.html, and you're going to add now the required HTML that will be able to provide us with now the functionalities that we need. And we need to provide the HTML that will give us the button to click on, and the placeholder for now the contents upon the click of the button. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to add the container first. And after adding the container, I'm going to give it a margin top of 5 like this one. And after doing that, I'm going to add another list like this one, and I'm going to give it a class of nav and nav pairs. Okay, and I'm going to also give it as nav justified like this one, and make sure you are getting the class as you wanted. And after doing this, I'm going to add now the list element. I'm going to give it a class of nav item, and inside here I'm going to try to add now the loop that will be looping over our steps, and I'm going to say ng for, and I'm going to loop over the steps. So let step of steps, and after doing that I'm going also to add the I, and it will be equal to index. Okay, good. And after we are now done with this, I'm going to go inside here and I'm going to add now the button. And the way we're going to do that, I'm going to also first set this as the grid. So the way we do that, I'm going to add the div like this one, which have the class of the grid, and inside here I'm going to add the button, and I'm going to give this button a class of nav link, and I'm going to give it a padding of 3, and after I'm going to give it font weight as bold, so as to have a bold, and it will be looking like this one. And inside here what I'm going to add is now the step dot label. Okay, we will be needing to input now the step dot label, and at the end of this another list we need to add the content that will be on the clicked step. So the way we do that, I'm going to use the ng container like this one, and inside this ng container, let me do like this one. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to choose the ng template outlet, and I'm going to say selected dot content. Okay, and you can see that it is now complaining even though we input this optional chaining. And I'm going to bring this whenever we have now the content only. So I'm going to add another div, and I'm going to give this a directive of ng if selected. We are going to do this when it is selected only. So I'm going to bring this inside and try to remove this, and I'm going to remove this optional chaining, and now the errors will go away. Okay, so after we are done with this, when you go back to the interface, nothing will be shown because we didn't add any step. And we're going to go back to the app.component.html where the this app stepper is, and what we're going to do here, we're going to add a bit of styling, and we're going to add the container here, and I'm going to give this a low, and inside the low I'm going to give, for example, let me give it h2 and say ngx-stepper tutorial, like the text that will be shown, and I'm going to give this a class, and the class that I'm going to give this will be a text center, and I'm going to give it a margin top of 4. Okay, after we are done with this, inside this row I need to add now the column, and the column, the way we're going to do, I'm going to add core md 9, and I'm going to add mx auto so as to have it in the center, and go ahead and press enter. And inside here, this is where I'm going to bring this app stepper, and we're going to do other thing to it so as to be able to provide the functionalities that we need. And inside the stepper, that's where we're going to add the steps. But before we do this, I'm going to specify that the linear mode is going to be false. So I'm going to say linear mode selected, and I'm going to give this as a false, because in the initial one here we used to give it now as true. So we don't need the first step to be completed so as to be able to go to the another one. It will require some of the logic that I can't explain right here. You can go and modify according to your need, and you specify that you need to go to the next step when the first step is completed. But for the demonstration purposes, I'm going to leave this as false. So I'm going to go back here, and inside here I'm going to also add this as apps. I'm going to give as app stepper, and inside here I'm going now to start to add the steps. So I'm going to add the cdk step like this one, and the cdk step I'm going to do like this one, and here I'm going to give it now the input of label, and the label will be now the label that I'm going to provide. I'm going to call this information. Okay, and inside here I'm going to call, for example, because we don't have elements or the components to put in here, I'm going to call this as step 1. Sorry, it will be inside here, it will be called step 1. Okay, and as we need like 3 more steps, I'm going to copy paste this and modify according to our need. I'm going to copy these 3 times, and this will be step 2. We replace this with the actual value, don't worry. And I'm going to go to step 4, and this will be for the contact. Okay, this will be for the security, and this will be for now the finish. And that's how we specified it. And after we are done with this, when you go back to your interface, you can see that it's not bringing anything. And the problem may be, let's go to the console and see where we messed up. And we can see that there is no provider. We forgot to add the provider. And the way we do that, we go here back to the stepper component, and I'm going to add the provider in here. So I'm going to say providers, and I'm going to add the provider in here. The way we add the provider, I'm going to add this one, and I'm going to put in the provider in here, and I'm going to say provide, and I'm going to provide the cdkStepper and use existing, and I'm going to say stepper component like this one. And when we go back here, you can see that now I'm getting all this information, and here you can see that now this is starting to be alive, and it is a good achievement. So I'm going to go back and try to set the active class onto our bands. And the way we do that, I'm going to say that now the class dot active, it will be active whenever now the selected index is now equal to I. Okay, so let's go back and see if the made any change. You can see that now the selected index is now this, and the step 1. And the way we are going to move from these 2 other buttons is when we add now the click event. So the way we do this, I'm going to add the click, and I'm going to say on click, and to the input the I. Okay, so when you go back again right here and you try to click here, you can see that I'm able now to navigate, and look, the contents are now being changed whenever we go to another step. And now this is now starting to be alive. Okay, so after we do that, we are going to try to replace this step 1 up to step 4 with the actual contents. And the way we do that, we need to create now other additional components. And I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to create 4 components. The one will be for the information, and I'm going to create 4 components: the information, the contact, the security, and the finish. And I'm going to press enter to press this one, and I'm going to create the other one for now the contact information, and I'm going to add the other one for security, and also the last one for now the finish. And once these are done, you can see that they were also able to update the module, which means that they are ready to go. And I'm going to try to replace where we have the steps with the actual contents. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to the stepper component here on app component.html, where there is a step 1. I'm going to add app where there is a step 1. Let me remove this. I'm going to add app information like this. Where there is a step 2, I'm going to add app contact. Where there is step 3, I'm going to add the app security. Okay, and where there is step 4, I'm going to add the app finish like this one. So when you go back to the browser, you can see that it was able to replace. You can see that information works, contact works, security works, and finish works. Okay, so to speed up this one, I'm having the snippets for all of those components, and don't worry, I'm going to provide everything, and I'm going to add the snippets so as to facilitate the work. So whenever we have the information, I'm going to remove this and input the appropriate HTML. There's nothing fancy in here. I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And when you go back, you can see that it was able to populate this with the required information. I'm going to repeat for the contact here, and I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to add the snippet for the contact like this one, from here up to here. Okay, and I'm going to do the same for security. Here, and I'm going to go where there is a security and try to paste it in here. And also for the finish, copy, and for the finish I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to go and check if now this is working as expected. So whenever I'm on information, on contact, on security, and on finish, good. And the next thing that we need to do is now to add a bit of styling to this navigation. You can see that is somehow weird. I'm going to go to the stepper component, of course, it is here, and I'm going to go to the CSS file, and I'm going now to target the buttons and the nav links. The way we do that, I'm going to say button, and I'm going to say nav link, and as now the cross here, and I'm going to give it a border of 0, and I'm going to give it a border radius of I'm going to give it 0, and the background I'm going to give it like beige, and also the color of the text I'm going to be having black. Cool. So let's go back and see. This is now looking good, amazing. This is a good progress. And the next thing that we need to do is to make these buttons work, because you can see there's nothing happening whenever we click on back or next. I'm going to go back and start with the information, of course. And inside the information, whenever I have now this button, you can see that I'm having also this font awesome cross. I'm going to give it as now the CDK next. Remember, I used to show you where the CDK next is living inside the CDK cross. I'm going to choose it, and I'm going to go to the contact, and I'm going to do the same, but here we have also the back. So I'm going to give it cdkStepper previous. Let me see, cdkStepper next, and I'm going to give this also cdkStepper next. And the same for security, we're going to do the same thing, cdkStepper previous, and also the cdkStepper next. Okay, and on the finish, we don't need to do anything at all, because we will be on the finish line like we are right now. Good, fantastic. So whenever you are on information and you click on go to contact, you can see that I was able to navigate, and I can go back or so. I can go ahead, go again, go back, go and submit. You can see also the submission message. All right, guys, I hope you find this very interesting. This is how you can perform this. I will improve this whenever we are getting the data from API, and we can make the decision whenever we are going to move or not. And I will do that in the part 2 of this video whenever you ask me to do that, but you can go ahead and implement it on your own. It's not that hard whenever you know how to change the steps. All right, so don't forget to leave a like on this video if you liked it, and if you are coming on this channel and you want to learn more about Angular, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to provide a bunch of Angular videos, and don't forget to check the description for all the materials, the source code, and all the commands that I used to get this as working as expected. And check the source code on my GitHub. The link will be in the description. And if you feel like you want to buy us some coffee, there is the Patreon link in the description. Go ahead and do that. And from now till next time, until then, stay cool and ciao. Peace up.